Okay. Hello, and welcome to the Grants Office webinar number 30. And thanks for joining us today. I'm Laura Kinseth, Grants Design Reviewer for Historic Properties. Today, we'll be unraveling the mystery of construction documents and why they are necessary to your preservation project. Before we go into the why construction documents, or CDs, are necessary, we'll be talking about what CDs are, when they first originated, and a bit of history and evolution of architectural drawings. So what do construction drawings consist of? For the purposes of a legacy grant project, construction documents project requirements are architectural drawings. These are the scaled drawings that illustrate the project scope and construction work. They may also include additional drawings such as structural, electrical, mechanical, or other drawings. Specifications are also required, often referred to as the project manual. This document will back up the drawings with additional details about the project, including requirements for site preparation, specific products, and methods of construction to be utilized. So between these two documents, you have both a visual and a written description of the work. And the other requirement for our grants program is the grant scope of work form, which you may be familiar with, and this is the document prepared by your architect for grants review that describes methods and materials proposed and the impact to historic character, just to ensure that the work meets the Secretary of Interior standards for treatment of historic properties. Note also that contractual documents can be included in a CD's package. For example, the contract agreement, general conditions, bidding documents, and pay application forms. Although not a required product for your CD's grant project, you may find that these are included in a CD's package. Now we're going to focus on architectural drawings and how to read them. These drawings should contain all the information and references necessary to define the proposed construction work. Use of standard drafting conventions, symbols, and notes allows the contractor to read a drawing and understand the project. In addition to the drawing, each drawing sheet should contain a bar at the right side with pertinent information about the project, such as the project architect, you'll see at the top, the name of the project, and then the contents of the sheet, the date it was produced, the drafter of this work, which is important in case clarification is ever needed, the plan checker, and of course, the sheet number. Now, to further organize this drawing set, the type of plan is coded with a letter before the sheet number. As in this architectural plan, A means architectural, and as you move on, M for mechanical, S for structural, and so on. So as you can see, a complete architectural drawing set must be very well organized. If you don't have much experience reading architectural plans, here are a few tips to help you navigate around them. A symbol that's frequently used is a building section mark, which is this mark here, and in the blow up, you can see it here, which shows where a building section is cut, as the vertical line indicates. And then the orientation of the section drawing that you're going to find is indicated by the arrow, the direction of the arrow. So it will be facing west. And you'll also note there's a number in the arrow, which is 2 at the top, which indicates the drawing number at sheet A7. So you go to that sheet and find drawing number 2, and here is your section that you would find if you were to cut through the building. If you'd like to go into further detail, these section markers, these little guys here, will indicate that they're almost the same, but they will indicate the direction just by the direction of the tail. And so over here, you'll see on the plan, there's this section marker, which is along the roof line, referring to drawing number 4 at sheet A5, which is on this sheet. So there you go with your section in more detail that describes the construction of the wooden gutter. Now also, frequently there's no room on the drawing to put all of these notes. So the drafter will use keynotes. Oh, goodness. The drafter will use keynotes as blown up here. That was reference to R01. And if you look at the keynotes, you can see it's a new Yankee gutter and refers to the same drawing of the detail. So these are just a few examples of how drawings are sort of coded so they can be read. And if you're interested in finding more about these symbols and the number of standard symbols, which there are quite a few, you can find some pretty good references online. So when did architectural plans originate? Recorded history of ancient architectural plans is a bit vague, but a plan dating back to around 1850 BC for the Palace of Nur Abad, located in what is now Iraq, is recorded as the oldest known surviving architectural plan in the world. The plan, drawn on a clay tablet, was likely discovered during the excavation to locate the palace ruins, which began in 1903. And with the discovery of the palace ruins in 2007, the plan appears to be a close match, according to the experts at the site. So we have a plan, but the architect or drafter is not known. Although there are no plans associated with his work, it is recorded that Imhotep holds the title of the world's first architect and builder of the step pyramid around 2650 BC, the first one built of stone. So plans for this pyramid or any others don't appear to exist at all, which is mind-boggling considering the complexity of these structures with all their, well, just the structure itself and all of the interior chambers and tunnels, as you can see in this modern section drawing of the interior of the Great Pyramid of Giza. So now we're jumping forward to the year 19 BC and the writings of Vitruvius, author of the 10 books on architecture, the earliest known work on architecture, and a major influence on architectural principles that remain in place today. So his name is really the one that's associated with early architecture and its development. And oddly, this noted architect, engineer, and scholar, designed only one building during his lifetime, the Basilica of Fano in Italy, that was built only according to his writings, and I guess we can call this his original plans that say the columns are 50 Roman feet tall with a base diameter of 5 Roman feet. So I guess the remainder of the design is left to the builder's imagination. Now, unfortunately, this significant structure was destroyed during the barbarian invasions. So, architects of the past and present have created some drawings of the basilica based on only the written plans to provide a visual sense of the lost basilica. And just for fun, here are some examples of drawings that have been completed more recently. And this is probably during the Renaissance. This one on the bottom, this is a more recent drawing, which, as you can see, there are some variations in the interpretations, but I guess that's just the problem with using just written words instead of illustrated plans. Now this drawing here, which is generated by CAD, by the computer, is very interesting, if it is definitely authentic, because I would not have expected to see a truss system here. So I think we can conclude that very early buildings were typically constructed without architectural drawings because architects were really master builders back then who were well versed at construction concepts and could envision their own final product. Drawings were typically done after construction as artists and architects became more skilled at perspective drawing. And as you can see, the results are truly stunning. Architectural drawings became more common during the Renaissance with the works of Brunelleschi, known as the first Renaissance architect, and of course, Leonardo da Vinci, the inventor of all things. As you can see, they became very proficient using the quill pen to add more detail to their drawings. And this is a necessary skill back then because they lacked our modern drafting tools such as pens with metal nibs of different sizes and pencils, which weren't even invented back then. So the 19th century brought more modern drafting tools with the inventions of the pencil, metal pen nibs, the architect's scale, and redesigning of a more efficient compass, drawing compass, to create even more refined architectural drawings, similar to modern drawings, although still a lot more artistic. So why are blueprints blue? Filling a need to reproduce architectural drawings, the blueprint process was discovered in 1842, using the same concepts as modern photography by exposing paper treated with chemicals, one containing ammonia, hence the stinky smell, and exposing it to light. After washing the print, as in a photo developing process, a striking negative image with a dark blue background is produced. The blue color is merely the result of the chemical reaction on the paper. This process soon evolved into the diazo printing method, producing a slightly more refined drawing with blue lines on a white background, known as a blue line. A process used well into the 20th century with the development of diazo printers. But now, of course, large format, less stinky photocopiers are used exclusively to get typical black and white print that we are accustomed to today. So hand drawing continued to be more detailed and technical, but still retains its artistic quality compared to CAD drawing. Unfortunately, it is a lost art, and actually hand drafting is no longer taught in architecture schools, as even sketches and designs are developed using the computer-aided drafting system, or CAD, which is a concept that I find difficult to grasp. However, there are numerous advantages to CAD drafting, from the degree of accuracy and detail that can be achieved in little time to three-dimensional drawing capabilities. So, in addition to drawings and printing processes, the tools of the trade have also evolved, sadly. Now that you have a little background about what CDs are and how to use them, we'll return to the original question of why are CDs necessary for construction projects? We do receive some questions with these concerns. First of all, you followed the preservation planning steps by listing the building on the National Register and completing a conditions assessment. So, ready to move ahead with the work recommended in the report. Or it's just a roof replacement, and roofing contractors know how to do that. And last, there are already historic drawings and building floor plans in the conditions assessment. So these are all good questions, which we will answer now. To address the first question, your planning process is an excellent beginning to the end goal of restoration and repairs at your historic building. However, written descriptions of recommended work do not give enough detail, as noted in the earlier slides, as to the project scope, construction methods, or materials to be used. The drawings and specifications will provide all the necessary information to your contractors, so nothing is left up to their own interpretation. Number 2. Yes, your roofing contractor should be skilled at the basics of roof repair and replacement, but working on a historic building requires specific processes that will be outlined in the drawings, specs, and the scope of work form. Also, you do not need a full set of plans for only roof work. The 2 drawings shown here are sufficient for a roof replacement project, describing the project location, the scope of work, and roofing details necessary to illustrate the work. Third question. The conditions assessment report can provide good background information about existing conditions and the building itself. But these drawings are only basic plans provided to give a visual sense of the property and do not provide the necessary scaled drawings, details, and scope of work that illustrates all the proposed work. So I hope that you've gained some new insights into the value of construction documents today to your preservation project, because this is an important step to ensure that your building retains its historic character and may last possibly for another 100 years.
Megan has led the way with a question, and she's just asking, why are modern construction documents always on such big pieces of paper?
Actually, the existing examples of drawings from back when, about mid-19th century, were also on big pieces of paper. And there are so many of those small details that we were looking at on those examples that you really need a large format in order to get in all those details and be able to read them.
Mm-hmm. Did you mention that one of the main points of getting drawings, if you're going to apply for a grant to do the construction, is that you need your specs and drawings and scope of work
Right.
before you can apply for construction work?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And that those construction drawings, like we said earlier, will consist of the actual architectural drawings, specifications, scope of work form, and then let's see, what's the other item that's required in the grant? Oh, the photo key plan. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So Todd has a question, and he's asking, if you're hiring an architect to produce drawings, why do they need to know what is it that they need to know about the project, especially if they didn't produce the original planning documents?
Well, they can have access to the original planning documents, which might be the best way to educate them about what they need to know. Otherwise, a site visit to look at the property firsthand would probably be the best way to get to know the project.
Mm-hmm. Megan has another question. Do architects provide paper copies of the construction documents to their clients? Are digital blueprints going to be preserved in the same way that we have historic blueprints in archives?
I had not thought about storing digital prints. I assume they will need to be stored in the same manner and perhaps printed on archival paper
Mm-hmm.
that will last through the generations. What was the other part of was there another part of the question?
So do architects provide paper copies of the construction documents to their clients?
Oh, yes. It depends on what's in their contract.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, they will provide one set, but they will also provide the digital file.
Mm-hmm.
So their client can make as many prints as necessary. And of course, there needs to be a hard copy on the construction site,
Mm-hmm.
as well as digital copies.
And then, so when we funded a specs and drawings grant, we often have like required milestones of, seeing the drawings at 30% completion, 60% completion, and 90% completion. Is that something that our office came up with, or is that standard for the whole field?
I think that I'm not sure, but I believe it's just a grants office requirement.
Okay.
For reviews, just to ensure that the architect is on track
Mm-hmm.
with the recommended work. does anyone have a preference as to whether they appreciate CAD drawings or hand drafting?
So Megan has a comment. It reminds me of a similar debate in conservation. Before digital photography, conservation files always had hand-drawn images of the objects. Okay.
And CAD drawings can look nice. I mean, you can't get the sort of flair that you can achieve with a hand drawing, but by using different line weights, which you can achieve in CAD, you can get a pretty nice drawing.
So Rebecca Kaufman has a comment. She says, there's a nice return to hybrid forms in architecture now too, with hand drawing on iPads, reproducing the process, but then being able to, be manipulated digitally even further.
That is an advantage. And I mean, you can do overlays of historic drawings to indicate, where there's work been done that's been done on a historic building that will indicate where the original walls were and what were walls that were added. So there's that advantage, definitely. And some architects will even use a historic drawing after it's been digitized as part of their drawing sets and just either add to it or do overlays. And when I was working for an architecture firm, when CAD was just sort of on the cutting edge, we had that capability in the office, but we would often do the base drawing on CAD and then go in and do the detail work like the poching and some of the hatching and things like that by hand, just to kind of give it that flair.
Well, I'm going to stop the recording here in a second. And yeah, thanks for everybody who came, and we'll get this up within a couple of weeks.
Yes, thanks. And thanks, John.
All right. Bye.
See you later.
Thanks, Laura.
You're welcome.